Dr. Dre sold Beats to Apple for $3 billion. It was the biggest exit in hip-hop history. 5 years later, his ex-wife demanded half of it in divorce court. And the legal battle revealed that even at the peak of success, Dre had never escaped vulnerability. This isn't a story about wealth. It's a story about how every level of success creates a new way to lose it. In 1986, Dr. Dre was part of N.W.A, the group that revolutionized hip-hop. Straight Outta Compton became a cultural earthquake. The group sold millions, toured globally, changed the industry. But when the contracts were examined, it became clear that almost none of the money was reaching the artists. Their manager, Jerry Heller, had structured deals that funneled the majority of revenue to himself and Eazy-E, who owned the label. Dre, Ice Cube, and the others were on salary. They were creating the music, driving the sales, and receiving a fraction of what they generated. The economics were brutal. N.W.A albums sold millions of copies. Concert tours packed arenas across the country. But the financial structure meant the people generating the value saw almost none of it. Heller and Eazy controlled Ruthless Records. The contracts gave them ownership of masters, publishing rights, and merchandising. Ice Cube left first in 1989. His solo album went platinum, proving the talent wasn't dependent on the group structure. Dre followed in 1991. But leaving N.W.A wasn't simple. It meant walking away from the infrastructure, the contracts, and the protection that structure provided, however flawed it was. Dre partnered with Suge Knight to form Death Row Records in 1991. The Chronic, released in 1992, became one of the most influential albums in hip-hop history. It launched Snoop Dogg, redefined West Coast sound, made Death Row the dominant force in the industry. The album was both artistic triumph and clear business statement. Dre was proving he could create without N.W.A, without Jerry Heller. Death Row gave him creative control, ownership, and power. But Suge Knight's business methods were violent. Intimidation, threats, physical confrontations with artists, executives, and rivals. The success of Death Row was undeniable, but the environment was toxic. And Dre, as the creative engine, was trapped in it. Knight's reputation for violence wasn't rumor. It was documented. Public confrontations, alleged assaults, stories of artists being coerced into signing contracts under threat. By 1996, Dre wanted out. Death Row was imploding. The East Coast-West Coast rivalry was escalating. Tupac had been killed. The violence was getting closer. But leaving Death Row meant confronting Suge Knight, and that came with real danger. Artists who crossed Knight faced consequences. Threats against their families. Physical intimidation. Leaving Death Row wasn't like leaving a normal business partnership. Dre left anyway. He founded Aftermath Entertainment and walked away from Death Row entirely. The decision cost him financially. He left behind royalties, masters, and ongoing revenue from the albums he'd produced. But staying would have cost him more. The financial loss was substantial. The Chronic continued generating revenue. Walking away meant abandoning claims to that ongoing income stream. But he calculated that the cost of staying exceeded the financial sacrifice. Aftermath struggled initially. The first releases underperformed. Industry observers questioned whether his success had been dependent on Death Row's infrastructure. But in 1999 he signed Eminem. The Slim Shady LP became a phenomenon. Then 50 Cent in 2002. Get Rich or Die Tryin' dominated the charts. Dre had rebuilt. The Eminem signing proved something crucial. Dre's value wasn't just his production skills. It was his ability to identify talent. He'd done it with Snoop, now with Eminem and 50 Cent. In 2006, Dre co-founded Beats Electronics with Jimmy Iovine. The idea was simple: premium headphones marketed to a generation that consumed music constantly but through low-quality earbuds. The branding was brilliant. The product was adequate. The timing was perfect. Beats represented a fundamental shift. Dre was moving from creating music to creating the hardware people used to consume it. From artist to entrepreneur. The headphones themselves weren't revolutionary from an audio engineering standpoint. But that missed the point entirely. Beats wasn't selling superior audio reproduction. It was selling status, identity, association with Dre's brand. Beats became ubiquitous. Athletes wore them. Celebrities endorsed them. The brand transcended audio quality and became a status symbol. By 2014, Apple acquired Beats for $3 billion. Dre's share made him one of the wealthiest figures in hip-hop history. The sale seemed like the endpoint, the validation. Decades of being exploited, threatened, and undervalued had culminated in a deal that made him wealthier than almost anyone in the industry. He had escaped every trap. Or so it appeared. In 2020, Nicole Young filed for divorce. She and Dre had been married for 24 years. They had 2 children together. And she was seeking half of his assets, potentially over $1 billion based on the Beats sale and his ongoing business interests. The timing was significant. The Beats money had been accumulated during the marriage. California's community property laws were unambiguous. Nicole's claim was based on legal entitlement. The divorce became contentious immediately. Nicole claimed there was no valid prenuptial agreement. Dre's legal team argued there was. Financial disclosures revealed details about Dre's wealth structure, business holdings, and ongoing expenses that had never been public. The prenuptial agreement became the central battleground. Nicole's attorneys argued it had been signed under duress, that it was unconscionable. Dre's team countered that it was valid and enforceable. During the proceedings, it emerged that Dre was paying Nicole $293,000 per month in temporary spousal support. The payments were manageable given his wealth, but the optics were striking. Even after achieving unprecedented financial success, Dre was facing the possibility of losing half of it. The monthly support number revealed the scale of their lifestyle during the marriage. Nearly $300,000 per month suggested extraordinary spending levels built over 2 decades. The legal battle lasted nearly 2 years. In December 2021, the divorce was finalized. Nicole received approximately $100 million, a fraction of what she had initially sought, but still one of the largest divorce settlements in entertainment history. The settlement was structured to include the Malibu mansion, along with various assets and financial support. Dre retained the Beats money and his business interests, but the cost, both financial and psychological, was enormous. What the divorce revealed wasn't just about money. It was about how success creates new vulnerabilities. When Dre was with N.W.A., the threat was exploitation by management. When he was with N.W.A., the threat was violence from his partner. When he built Aftermath, the threat was irrelevance if the talent didn't pan out. And when he sold Beats, the threat became the legal structure of his personal life. Each level of success didn't eliminate risk. It transformed it. The threats changed form, but they never disappeared. It may not have been just about the divorce itself. There's a broader pattern here. Dre spent decades navigating systems designed to extract value from him. Jerry Heller's contracts. Suge Knight's intimidation. The music industry's exploitative structure. He survived all of it by being smarter, more strategic, and more resilient than almost anyone in the industry. But the final threat came from the one place he thought was secure, his marriage. The person who had been there through the N.W.A. era, through the Aftermath rebuild, through the Beats creation was now the person positioned to take half of what he'd built. This isn't to vilify Nicole Young. Divorce is complex. California's community property laws entitled her to a share of the wealth accumulated during the marriage. The legal outcome was fair by the standards of the system. But the system itself highlights the vulnerability. Dre had spent his career avoiding traps, escaping exploitation, building value outside the reach of those who wanted to control it. And in the end, the structure of his personal life became the mechanism through which that value could be claimed. This wasn't about the divorce failing. It was about how success doesn't eliminate vulnerability, it just changes who and what poses the threat. The aftermath of the divorce settlement hasn't diminished Dre's wealth significantly. He remains one of the richest figures in music. But the psychological cost is harder to quantify. Decades of strategic thinking, of protecting what he built, of navigating threats from every direction, and the final confrontation came from the one place he hadn't fortified. In 2021, N.W.A suffered a brain aneurysm and was hospitalized. The timing, in the middle of the divorce proceedings, added another layer of complexity. Health issues, legal battles, financial pressure. Even at 56, even after building an empire, the stresses remained. The aneurysm forced a different kind of reckoning. Mortality, fragility. He survived, but the message was clear. Control is always partial, always temporary. The broader implication is clear. Success in the entertainment industry is often framed as a destination. You achieve it, and then you're secure. But N.W.A's story shows that success is a moving target. The threats evolve. The people who can take from you change. But the vulnerability persists. He escaped Jerry Heller's contracts. He survived Suge Knight's threats. He rebuilt after death row collapsed. He created Beats and sold it for billions. And still he wasn't safe. What does it mean to navigate decades of exploitation and violence, to achieve unprecedented success, and still face the possibility of losing half of it to someone who was supposed to be your partner? The answer isn't about blame. It's about structure. The systems that govern wealth in entertainment are designed to extract. Whether it's a manager taking 90% of the revenue, a business partner threatening violence, or community property laws dividing assets, the outcome is the same. Someone else ends up with what you built. N.W.A is still working, still producing, still building. At 59, he's not slowing down. But the idea that success provides security has been thoroughly dismantled. Each achievement creates new exposure. Each win invites new claims. And he wasn't the first. He won't be the last. The same pattern would repeat in careers built through brilliance and threatened by the structures meant to protect them. Some stories end. Legends don't. This is CLS.